Welcome to the Stronger, Leaner, Lighter show. I'm your host, Sally Thibault. Today we're talking why it's your time. I hope you'll stay with me while I share with you why this is so important. Hello and welcome, and hello from the very cold, blustery Gold Coast today. We've got the blast of winter. Now, don't laugh if you're from Melbourne or you're from Canada or the US. It's 17 degrees and feels like 12. That's really cold for us. We're just breaking out the winter gear, kind of expecting the snow. I mentioned it to my son this morning and he's like, "Oh, Mum, really?" He's in Montreal. But it's cold. It's cold and it's windy. And I hope wherever you are warm and comfortable. I've got my slippers on underneath, you can't see. This show today is going to be a little bit different from what I normally do, and I'm going to make it quite short because we've got real internet issues and they keep dropping out. But we're going to make this really short. I hope that I can inspire you with this show. This has been brewing in my head for a while, and interestingly enough, when I was going through some of my old Facebook Lives, day before yesterday, I came across the Facebook Live I did exactly a year ago, and it was just on this topic. And weirdly, is that the word? Nothing's changed. In fact, it's gotten worse. So I thought it was about time to resurrect that. I'm going to go for about 15 minutes today. As I said, we've got internet dropping in and out, so I want to make sure this keeps going. So before we start, big shout out to NAS Cosmetics. If you want really good quality cosmetics with great coverage that is good for your skin, naturally Australian made, please check out NAS Cosmetics. They're just a brilliant cosmetic range. I just went and I got a whole new stock last week from Jen, and I'm having great fun just playing with it again. It's really, really fun, and I think, that's the thing about us as women, right? We like to play with makeup, and to know that what I put on my skin is actually non-toxic is such a good thing. So big shout out to NAS Cosmetics. Check them out, nascosmetics.com.au for more about that. Right. Here's where I'm going with this. I have to ask this question to you, the wise woman on this live with me today. What happened to critical thinking? What happened to it? All of a sudden, everywhere I look, we're being told what to think. And it's coming from what you are allowed to post on social media and what you're not, what you're able to read and what you're not, what's printed now in the papers as news, when I'm tending to think, is it really news or is it a PR release? I don't think there's ever been, I can't remember a time. So I'm in my mid-60s. I can't remember a time, or maybe I didn't know it, when things have been so regimented about what we can think and say and do. This is a really, really slippery slope. For those of you who are on this call today, you grew up at a time when we were encouraged to think critically. Many of us had free universities, not that I went, but it was free universities. We had great discussions. We grew up in a time when we protested against the Vietnam War, and we protested against for women's rights. And remember Gloria Steinem and all that era of women stepping out, and that's how we got close to par as far as incomes come, and how we got to the point where women could get birth control and childcare and maternity leave, and like that. They were hard fought. We had to fight for those. The narrative at the time was women should be in the home. And I remember my mother telling me stories, and this is in the 50s, where women didn't tell their bosses they were pregnant because they would have lost their jobs. And for many women of who got married, they were automatically going to lose their jobs or not go through an advancement or asked to leave. That was only 60 years ago. And it was during those times of really critical thinking where we went, wait a minute, this isn't right. Since when do men dominate? We have a right. That we fought for what we wanted. And I don't know if you remember the women's lib movement, but it was pretty, I mean, I was young, probably, what was I, maybe 6 or 7, but I remember my mother, talking about these women who were burning their bras. It was such a thing. Oh my God, especially when they were pointy ones. Did you like the pointy bras? I always wanted a pointy bra, but that was a big thing. And we led it. Well, not so much me, but do you know what I mean? Like the people in this who are now in their 70s and 60s led this. We led it. We changed it. We said, this isn't right. This doesn't feel right. And we had critical thinking. But now all of a sudden, you can't be a critical thinker. We have this myopic thinking where if you say something that is outside what the fact checkers want you to say, suddenly you're called all these names: conspiracy theorist, anti-you-know-what, which terminology that annoys the hell out of me. But this is a time for critical thinking, not myopic thinking. There's something going on. And I read a fantastic article yesterday written by a researcher, one of the world's leading researchers in immunology and lung diseases. And he said, I am being shut down at every move I make. Every move. Now, it was printed on the Children's Defence Network. I'll put a link below. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant article. It went on for pages, and he listed all the studies that he's been, the things that's been happening. And it was all about this drug that can help in the pandemic. I've got to be careful what I say, right? That's readily available and cheap. And it's being shut down. I didn't think I would live in a time where that could happen, where people of incredible, I mean, this guy had a list of qualifications about a half a page long. And he said, I am being shut down at every turn I make. Now, something's wrong. It's really wrong when we don't allow critical thinking, where we assume that people cannot make their own decisions for themselves. And to me, that is why it is our turn, our time to step up. We watched the women ahead of us fighting to get the rights we now take for granted. We watched them. We watched them being scorned. I remember Gloria Steinem being called all the names under the sun. I remember those headlines, and I was only young, maybe 10, but I remember, and I remember discussing it at school when we were allowed to have discussions. And of course, I went to an all-girls school. You can imagine what the discussion was like. But what happened to that? And what happened to us as the women who came straight after those women? Why are we being silenced? A friend of mine said yesterday, and she said it beautifully, she said, it's like the old-fashioned burning of the witches at the stake. It's like if you're a woman, mid-50s or beyond, and you are asking a question, you're being shut down as if you don't know what you're talking about. And no. Listen, it ain't going to happen here. I have earned the right to speak my truth, as you have. You, the wise women on this call, earned the right. We've been through it to make critical decisions for ourselves, to read widely and read well. Switch off the 6 o'clock news and switch off Facebook, because you're not going to find it there either. You need to ask the question, and you can find it if you look. Do you know, when this first began a year ago, I remember saying, this isn't making any sense. Something's not right here. And I did it, I said in March 20, I think, when we first went into lockdown, I thought, something's not right. But I trust, like, people who are smarter than me and medical people. Something's not right here. This doesn't make any sense. And, I've continued to ask that question. Something's not right here. This isn't making any sense. And I'm not saying this is not a reality. It is a reality. What we're going through is a reality. Some people are sick, and that's a reality. But why are we not being given the whole story so we can make decisions for ourselves? Because the thing is, you create your reality with your beliefs. You create your reality with your beliefs. Do you know we are the only species who actually do that? With and things like, if you think you can't make any money, you won't make any money. If you think you're fat, you'll be fat. If you think you can't find the love of your life, you won't find the love of your life. We create our reality, what we believe. We can change the reality through our beliefs. But if we're only bigging information that's coming from somewhere else by somebody who is limiting what we're allowed to read and see and have access to, then we move into that myopic thinking. But I want to know, for here is where I want to talk about. If you buy into fear, you will feel fearful. If you buy into victimhood, you will feel victimized. Because remember, your beliefs create your reality. So I wanted to ask yourself the question, are you living in fear and victimhood right now? Or are you feeling strong, wise, and intuitive? Because that's who you are. You are at that age now where you have what many people who don't live in this part, we have this inner knowing. How do we get it? One, we have wisdom we've earned through experience. We didn't get that wisdom out of a book. We didn't go to university to get that wisdom. We actually live with, totally qualified to have the wisdom because we've lived it. We've lived the struggles of relationships. We've lived perhaps through illness and deaths of parents. We've raised teenagers and survived. Many wine growers around the world are very grateful for teenagers. we survived. We've earned that wisdom through experience. We've earned the right to question. We've earned knowledge through challenges we've faced and overcome. I would say there's not a woman on this call right now who hasn't survived something they thought they'd never survive. That you've been through something you thought, I am at the end of my tether. I don't know if I can go one step further. I'm ready to walk up, out, give up, quit, whatever. But you didn't. And you got through the challenge and you learned a lot about yourself along the way. And the third thing we have is intuition, honed by raising children who thought that we had no idea what they were doing, right? How many times have you just got this with your, what you're telling me isn't right, and you knew it? That's the same thing that's going on now, is this thing. Wait a minute, this isn't making any sense. Why are you doing all this? Why, when I turn on the news for the first 5 minutes, there's one word begins with a V that's used over and over and over, and count it. If you turn on the news at 6 o'clock, count how many times they say that V word in the first 5 minutes. But it's just over and over and over and over and over again. Great advertising and marketing ploy. I really truly believe that 2021 has been designed to silence the wise woman. Been designed to silence the wise woman. But how do you feel confident and how do you feel at home with your own wisdom and knowledge? Number one, You have to care for your physical, emotional, and spiritual health. It is more important than ever before. Do you know, I'm coming across people at the moment who are saying, oh, I just can't exercise, like I'm too busy or I'm overwhelmed. That's the time you should be. I can't meditate. I don't have time. That's the time you should be. Oh, I can't do EFT, like I just don't have time. You get 2 minutes in the shower, in the car. It's right now that we need to be caring for our physical and emotional well-being, and it's got to be a priority. Your health, if we've learned nothing more over the last 18 months, your health is paramount. Most people who have succumbed to this terrible pandemic have had 3 or more comorbidities. 3 or more, and don't take my word for that. You can find that on the either the FDA, what do you call it, the TGA website. Can't remember the other one. They'll come to me in a minute. CDC website. 3 or more comorbidities: obesity, heart disease, inflammatory disease, respiratory disease. That's the people who've succumbed, and frailty, that was the other one, frailty, have succumbed to this disease. If you're over 50 right now, you must be putting your health number one. No excuses. You are not a victim. And if you don't have time, well, you're going to have time later on. You're going to make time to get well. It is critical. I want to introduce you to somebody. This, let me get her up. Hang on a second. Where is she? This is Willie Murphy. Where is she? God love her. This is Willie Murphy. I'll tell you a story about Willie Murphy. In 2018, when she was 82 years old, you can Google her, find the story. She's hilarious. She was living by herself, and she's a bodybuilder. 82 years old. She's a bodybuilder. One of the strongest women in the world for her age. And a young man knocked at the door and said to her, I'm sick, could you please call an ambulance? So she did. In the meantime, he broke down her door to steal from her and attack her. Do you know what Willie did? 82-year-old Willie Murphy. She picked up a coffee table and hit him with it and broke the coffee table. When that didn't work, he was on the ground trying to get up. She jumped on him over and over again. In the meantime, while she was jumping on him, he was sort of partially conscious, she managed to call 911, and she could see him getting up, so she grabbed a bottle of shampoo and put it in his eyes so he couldn't see. Then when he still tried to get up, she bashed him with the broom. So he got out, the police captured him. They were like, whoa. But you know, there's something really amazing about Willie Murphy. Because she was strong, physically strong, she was confident enough to tell this young, bigger than her guy, almost double her size guy, you are not messing with me. And that's what physical fitness does. That's what strength does. It gives you the confidence to say, not in my watch. It's not happening. That's what health does. That's what health does. When you feel physically, emotionally, and spiritually strong, you're like, not buying that. No victimhood here. I'm not living in fear. Does Willie Murphy still live on her own? Yes, she does. At 82. Still lives on her own. What she would be now at 84, 85. So I'm going to challenge you. I'm going to leave in a minute. I'm going to challenge you. Your intuition works best when you are not sabotaging yourself. Remember, our beliefs create our reality. Do you know, when I created the Stronger, Leaner, Lighter program, it was designed to tick all those boxes based on principles, not strategies, based on principles that you, for the rest of your life, eat consciously, fast intermittently, exercise purposefully, drink water frequently, sleep soundly, meditate daily, EFT regularly. All those principles are things that you don't do and not do. They are things you do all the time. So when you're 82 and somebody wants to bash your door in, you're like, Willie. And you're going to say, not in my watch, baby. And that's why right now it is critical that you are caring for yourself, physically, emotionally, and spiritually, so you don't move into victimhood. So you have the strength of character and emotional strength to say, this doesn't make any sense. And I'm going to say it. Whether your children listen to you or not is beside the point. Because there's a few, and I know a lot of people I know in the same kind of thought process as me going, yeah, right, mum, rolling their eyes. I don't care. Because I truly believe children watch what you do. They don't listen to a word you say. So if you are living your best life, if you are honoring who you are and you are living how you want them to live, that's the greatest gift you can give them. Remember, we burnt our bras to get them, well, not me, would have loved to have, didn't have one, but to get them what they've got now. That's what women did. And you go back to the turn of the 19th century, 20th century, well, Emily Pankhurst and the women chained themselves to fences to get women to vote. What was that like? And now we're going to hand over our power now and say, okay, well, you tell me what to think. We are the wise women. This is our time. This is for us to step up. 20 minutes done and dusted. I hope today has inspired you to think critically, step up, look after yourself. This is your body. This is your time. Don't let victimhood and fear take over. Where in your life are you not truly being authentic to yourself? Where? It's our time. This is what we've worked for. This is what they did. All our predecessors have done all our lives, and we can't let them down now. Can't let them down now. Quickly before I go, if you're not part of the 7-day push-up challenge designed to make you stronger, like Willie, it's not too late to join. And there's a link there. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you for being on the show, allowing me to rant. Man, this is serious. This is serious. How are our kids going to remember us? I hope mine remember me the fact that I stood up and said, this isn't making any sense. That's what I want. Have a great day.